In this video, we're going to continue building onto our inventory hotbar system, where we're going to allow users to use hotkeys to access items in the hotbar. Before we start working on any of the hotkey stuff, I do want to make a small update to the font within our inventory slot. I don't really like this font. It's too blurry, and if I make it bigger so it's clearer, it just doesn't work with our size slot. So let's go into our quantity label, and we're going to update in theme overrides. We're going to change the font. I'm going to be using a font called Biddy, which I will link to in the description. And I am going to drag this over here into this font, and I am going to use size 16. And I think that is a lot clearer. So now if we go run our sample scene, when I go pick up 2 potions, I think that just looks a lot better. Obviously it's not perfect, but I think it's a lot clearer and a much better font for our purposes. So now that we have that, we can move on. We're going to stay inside of our inventory slot for right now. But in order to do what we want to do, we need to open up our project settings and go to our input map. We're going to be adding 4 new hotkeys, or 4 new input actions that we can choose from. We're going to have slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, and slot 4. And these are going to correspond to the hotbar. So for my purposes, I'm going to assign the number corresponding to each of those. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 to each of those slots. And while we're in our project settings, I do actually want to make a couple of small changes to our globals. I'm going to put the global of our player manager up to the top. Then our level manager is going to be second, and we're going to move up our inventory manager into the 3rd slot. You can close that, and now we can start working on some updates to this. So not only do we want to be displaying how many items they have in any given slot or of any given type, we also want to be displaying what number slot it is. So to do that, we're going to duplicate this label, and we're going to call it the hotkey label. And I'm going to change this to the top left. I'm going to update this to 1. We are going to make a couple more changes. And I think first and foremost, we're going to go into our theme overrides, and in colors, I'm going to make this a more gray, so it's not the same color as the number 2 for our how many potions we will have. I'm also going to manually move this. I'm going to put it right up there to the left, right there. And then I don't really like how this is black either. So let's go back to the quantity label, and let's update that style, this color as well. I think I'm going to make it a blue. Yeah, let's do that. You can make it whatever you want, but I'm going to stick with that blue. I think that color scheme looks kind of nice. Then we need to make a couple of property adjustments across all of these. So in our inventory slot, we need the focus mode to be on all. This is going to be necessary for us for input handling and visual feedback. And mouse filter needs to be set to stop, which it is for us already, so that's good. We're going to go to the item texture, and we need to make sure that our mouse is on ignore. This is going to let the panel, which is our inventory slot, handle the input. Then we need to go to our quantity label and our hotkey label, and also make sure that these are set to ignore. So that already is, and that is as well. So that's good. Save that. Now we can move into the script updates. So let's open up our script, and we need to first and foremost get this hotkey label as an already variable for us. And we're going to be adding 2 new variables. One is going to be the slot index, which is an integer that's equal to, we're going to default to -1, and then we're going to have a pending hotkey is an integer. Oh, sorry, no, that's going to be a string. It's going to be equal to an empty string out of the gate. So what these are doing, the slot index is going to track which inventory position any slot represents. And we're starting at -1 to catch any initialization errors. We're expecting slots to be 0 to 3. So -1 is just going to help us catch any errors on initialization. The pending hotkey, I think this is going to be a little bit of a hacky fix. I was having some issues getting the indexes for, or the labels for the hotkeys to properly initialize inside of our inventory slot for the text. So I had to do this pending hotkey bit. If anyone has any ideas on how to not do this or a better way, please let me know. But what we're going to do here is we're going to check if we have a pending hotkey that doesn't equal an empty string. Then we're going to get our hotkey label, text, assign it to the pending hotkey. And the pending hotkey can go back to an empty string. So this is just checking if we receive a hotkey before ready, we're applying it now, which has happened in some of my cases, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Then we need to add one more method, which is going to be called setHotkey, which takes an a key, which is going to be a string. We don't return anything. First thing we need to do is check if the node is ready. So if it's not ready, if the node is ready, our pending hotkey is going to equal our key. Otherwise, let's indent that correctly. Otherwise, we do our hotkey label text to equal the key. So sometimes this will get called too early, which this is where that pending hotkey comes into place. Otherwise, if we have it, we'll properly set the hotkey label text. After this, we need to head over to our inventory interface to further make sure that this can work. So we actually don't need these constants. These were put in, I had different plans for them and never removed them. So we can remove these constants, and we're going to replace them with two other constants. One is going to be our hotkeys. There's going to be an array of strings. And we're going to default this to 1, 2, 3, and 4, the string versions of each. And then we're going to have another constant called flash duration, which is a float, and it's going to be equal to 0.1. So what this flash duration is going to be is when a player selects a specific hotkey, we are going to have it show a color so it can give some sort of feedback that they're actually selecting that inventory slot. Then we need to go into our ready method, and we're going to do a quick await just to make sure everything is going to get set up properly. All of our inventory manager and everything like that is going to be set up properly. So we're just going to wait on the process frame. And then after that, we need to go into this for loop here. We need to do one thing to make sure that we're properly getting and assigning these slot indexes. So we're going to access the slot index on our slot. We're going to assign it to I, the index that we're in. And then we are going to go into our slot, set the hotkey, and we're going to grab the hotkey at that index. So if we're at index 0, we're going to be grabbing 1. If we're at index 3, we're going to be grabbing the string version of 4. Now we need to add two more methods. So let's go to the bottom of our script here, and we're going to have an unhandled input method. Do a pass for now, and we're going to have a method called flash and use slot. This is going to take in the index as an integer, and we're not going to return anything. So we're going to handle the flash and use slot afterwards, but this is just where we're going to visually flash a slot and actually use the item. In our unhandled input, this is where we're going to handle the actual hotkey presses. So this is going to be a little repetitive, but we're going to check first if the event is action pressed in slot 1. And if so, we flash and use slot at index 0. Elif event dot is action pressed slot 2. I'm going to flash and use slot at index 1. And then for quickness, I'm going to copy and paste this twice so we can just make easy updates here. So slot 3 action press is flash and used on slot 2, and slot 4 is flash and use on slot 3. In flash and use slot, we're going to do a quick check here, where if the index is less than 0, or the index is greater than or equal to the inventory slot's size, we return. Ooh, let's do a colon here. We return because that just means we are not getting a correct slot. So we don't want to do anything with that one. Then we go into our inventory slots. The index we're passed in, we're going to modulate so we can actually do that flash. And we're going to do a color of 0.8, 0.8, and 1.0. Then we tap into our inventory manager. And we use the item at the index. We're going to get tree, create a timer on our flash duration. And then on timeout, we're going to connect to a one-off function that we're going to create. So it's going to be a func at inventory slots at the index that we're giving in. We're going to modulate. It's going to equal color white, just to reset it. And now we should be good to actually test this out. So let's go back into our level 2 and let's test this. All right. So you can see here we have all the inventory slots are properly assigned. Item goes in. I'm not healing. There we can see the 2 in the different color. And then when I hit 1, I use my item, it flashes, and my health actually went up. So we can still press all of these other hotkeys as well. They're not going to do anything, but I think this is a really good start for our hotbar. In the next video, we're going to implement a drag and drop system so that you can get your items. If you want to put it from 1 into slot 3, you can do that. And we also want to do, if you click on an item, that you can also use it. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll catch you in the next video.